How we doing, everyone? Welcome to another stream. It's hot as hell in my room right now. I got the fan going. Hopefully it's not too audible. I actually think my microphone does a good job not picking it up, but let me know if it becomes too much of a big deal. And then I will apologize for it and not turn it off because it is too hot to not have the fan on right now. It's not even like it's barely helping, to be honest. It's not really making it cooler per se, but it's moving the air at the very least. Alright, we're gonna get started in just a moment. Think we're good on the camera. Yeah, just let me know if the fan is too loud. But again, there's not much I can do about that. Worst case scenario, I just turn all the audio off because I need this fan on. I'm gonna die over here. I got a nice full bottle of water, but I'm gonna go through it pretty quickly, which means I'll probably also have to pee at some point. Alright, so welcome to another Kaijune stream. In our last Kaijune stream, I believe the last thing we're working on was day 11, which is actually today's prompt. It is the 11th of June today. And I started working on this a couple days ago. Finished it yesterday-ish. Yeah, I finished it on Tuesday. And then I went ahead and did day 12's illustration, which was Mesa. So I did this one entirely off stream because, again, I'm trying to stay ahead of these prompts so I don't fall behind with like videos or anything like that. And now we're on day 13, the prompt for which is root. Go ahead and name this file. Is it root or roots? Oh my goodness, excuse me. Roots, plural. There we go. Okay. And yeah, as you can see, I've already sort of finished the line work of this design. I'm going to move on to some colors. I'm actually going to grab a reference picture for some color reference. Actually, Moon Bear would probably be better because they have longer fur. That's a really funny picture. That's good. So, feel free to sit back, relax, enjoy this stream, and hopefully you can beat the heat because it is oppressive where I am right now. Alright, let's get that reference image in there. So yeah, as you can plainly see, main inspiration for this kaiju was a bear. I like bears. I like bears as a subject matter for illustration. This one is pretty similar to an enigmorph design that I did. This is not alpha locked. And I just kind of like that weird kind of occult-looking witchy bear. And this is not an exceptionally large Goliath either, by all accounts. This Goliath is about 60 feet tall when it stands up. So it's more comparable to a large prehistoric animal in scale. Well, you'll read the lore about it later. I was gonna divulge some more lore, but I think that's better told through the writing that I did for this piece. I always feel like bears are, as a visual subject matter, such a great way to represent something that is simultaneously fearsome and kind of cute and sympathetic. And at least in Western culture, bears are either, one of the most dangerous animals you can encounter in the wild, or, cute little stuffed animals that children play with. And that's true for a couple of different kinds of animals, like a lot of large predators have sort of been, are depicted as being much cuter and friendlier than they might actually be. But I feel like bears especially there's like the most examples of like lovable bear characters. Paddington, Winnie, Kenai, Corduroy, Yogi. What other bears are there? Boog. We got any open season fans in the chat? I loved that movie when I was a kid. Urshifu, everyone loves Urshifu. Poe. All those guys from World of Warcraft, those Pandorans. I'm just listing popular culture bear characters. He ran right in front of my truck. There we go. We got the open season fans. I like how that's become a meme now, because that is one of the... That scene is still funny. I just remember cracking up as a kid watching that movie. The scene where they're like on stage and it looks like Boog is mauling Elliot behind the curtain. I don't know why I found that so funny, but I remember actually crying laughing. I know they made a lot of sequels to those movies. I think I watched one of them, like open season 2. I don't know, there was one they were like in a circus or something. But I might be confusing that with Madagascar 3, which I also watched once. I loved Madagascar as a kid too. There were a couple of movies that I really liked as a kid and that had sequels, but I never watched the sequels. But then as an adult, I did. And maybe that's why I have such bad associations with them. Maybe if I had watched them as a kid. Although, I don't know, I feel like I was a fairly discerning child when it came to movies that I liked or didn't like. You know? I remember... I might have talked about this before on stream, but I remember as a kid watching Robots, Blue Sky's Robots. And, you know, for the most part, every animated movie I watched as a kid, I liked. As with most kids, you know, every fun family animated action comedy was, you know, I was entertained by it. And I was really confused the first time I watched Robots because I wasn't enjoying it. And it was like the first time I ever remember being like, huh, I don't like this thing. Like, I should, by all reasoning, I should like this thing. Like, I wasn't, you know, I didn't know why I didn't like it, but it wasn't entertaining me. I was like, it has jokes, it has action, it has fun, bright colors, but for some reason, I'm bored. Like, this is not entertaining me. And to this day, it's weird. Like, the visuals for Robots are very pretty and unique. The story is alright. You know, the characters themselves are fine, but there are maybe too many characters. There are like 6 or 7 like comic relief side characters, and they're like, there's 2 different love interests. There are like 2 different villains, kind of like 3 antagonistic forces if you include Big Weld as sort of like an antagonistic force for most of the movie. Well, not for most of the movie, but when you meet him, he's kind of an antagonistic force. And there's also like a couple different plot lines. It's a little confused. And a lot of the comedy also just didn't really land, I think, in my humble opinion. Yeah, Aunt Fanny is... I mean, she's had a lasting effect on our generation, I think. It was also one of those movies that, like, had a very star-studded cast for seemingly no reason other than to sell tickets. Which I always found interesting because, like, as a kid, I didn't know fucking... I guess I knew Robin Williams, but I didn't know, like, Halle Berry or Mel Brooks. I feel like there were other big names in that. Can't remember who plays Big Weld. I feel like Aunt Fanny is Jennifer Coolidge. Which is actually, that's good casting. I'm not going to complain about that. What does the prompt mesa mean exactly? Well, a mesa is a geological formation. It is actually Spanish for table, and it refers to a large, elevated geological structure that is flat on the top. Usually found in deserts or plains or similar environments. And you may interpret that as you will. I was kind of imagining, something like a desert creature, or something that sort of just gives the essence of like the American Southwest. If you want, I can show you what I did, because I already did Mesa. I kind of was a little literal with it too. I put like a large hump on its back that kind of looks like a mesa. But I was thinking mostly about the colors of deserts in the American Southwest. Those sort of red highlights and purple shadows. Oh, gotta put it on Do Not Disturb here. I always forget to do that. Yeah, always be sure to look up any of these prompts that you don't understand. Part of the reason I pick kind of strange specific words like mesa is to get people to learn about new things. I realize that not everyone might be familiar with words like mesa or estoc. So I kind of intentionally pick words that I think will, force someone to have to learn something. So I know some of them do sound kind of weird, but I think that's part of part of what's fun about a challenge like this is really doing some research into topics that you are not familiar with. I sometimes, it's things that I'm like kind of familiar with, but I still don't really know that much about, so I look it up for my own, like I want to learn more about them for my own sake. The other thing about challenges like this, and using the prompts for inspiration, is you don't, there's not like one correct way to do and to interpret any of these prompts. You can get as abstract with it as you like. I think that the other reason I choose kind of strange words like this, like mesa or estoc, is because there are multiple different ways you can interpret those kinds of prompts. That's why I kind of regret putting equine as a prompt, because that is pretty literal. There aren't a lot of different ways to interpret equine. Though we did still get quite a variety of different kinds of illustrations on the unveil. I was pretty impressed by how many different kinds of interpretations of equine we got. What is the best bear? That's a good question. I really like black bears. You know, black bears to me, they remind me of camping up in the Adirondacks. They remind me of like going to like a little tourist trap gift shop, you know, somewhere in Maine or in Vermont or upstate New York, and you know, finding all kinds of like little whittled, you know, wooden bears or t-shirts that's like, I can't bear to be anywhere else. Shroon Lake, New York. So you know, they have this like fun, almost like kitschy appeal to me. I've only ever encountered a black bear once, and it actually scared the shit out of me because I wasn't prepared. Like, nothing happened. I'm not even entirely sure if it saw me. It almost definitely smelled me, and it smelled my dog. But I was surprised by how scary it was, because I know that, like, you know, in general, black bears are pretty skittish. They're usually not a huge threat to humans. But it's just one of those things where when you encounter an animal that large in the wild, it's probably the only time I've ever had an encounter with an animal that large or that potentially dangerous. They're also just cute, you know? I feel like black bears are very cute. Like, grizzly bears, brown bears are cute. I'm not a huge fan of pandas. I know this is going to be controversial, but I feel like pandas are a little overrated. You know, I just, maybe it's because, you know, they're like everywhere. Like, I feel like, you know, panda bears, you know, they're very marketable. So I feel like I see them everywhere. And they get to the point where they're like not even real animals anymore. They feel like just like living plush toys. And I don't really like see what, like, I get that they're like kind of cute and stupid, but I don't know, I don't like that persona. I also don't believe that's how they are. I believe that maybe like the polar bear, the polar bears, the panda bears in captivity are maybe kind of stupid and clumsy looking. But like, it's funny, you see those videos where it's like stupid panda bear falls off of its swing in its enclosure, and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, it's a big fat bear. Like, it doesn't know how to sit on a swing. Of course it's gonna fall off of it. I also like moon bears. Moon bears are really cute looking. I don't really know much about moon bears. Like, I don't know what their deal is, what their behavior is like. There's a moon bear at my local zoo, and he's really funny. He's just chilling all day. They have a little bed for him and a big pool for him to swim in, and he just always seems so relaxed. On the hot days, he jumps in the water. It just looks so chill. So cozy. That's the other thing I love about bears. They feel like animals that know how to enjoy themselves. I watched this trail cam footage of a black bear in I can't remember what park it is. It was in California. I can't remember what park it was. But he had this beautiful reddish color. That's the other thing I like about black bears, is that they come in so many different colors. He had this beautiful reddish fur, and he just spent like 2 hours making like a really comfortable bed for himself, and then he just slept for like the whole day. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good deal. Are moon bears just Asiatic black bears? I thought they were a completely different species. I know there are Asiatic black bears, but I thought those were black bears and the moon bears were their own thing. Short-faced bears. Well, those are extinct. We don't have those anymore. Remember the last time Claire and I were watching Brother Bear? We came up with this fan theory that some of the bears at the salmon run. If you've ever seen Brother Bear, there's a scene where they go to the salmon run. There are a bunch of bears there, and some of them are huge. And Claire and I were like, "Oh, I bet some of these are supposed to be like cave bears, because you know, it takes place during the Pleistocene. So it's like, oh, these are like a different species of bear." And that's why it's like so irrelevant to the story. And it's like almost certainly not what the creators of the movie intended when they were writing the script and designing the characters. You know, I think they're just supposed to be like large bears. But we're like, look how big that bear is. Like Kenai himself is already like 6 feet tall when he stands up, like he's an adult grizzly bear. That's pretty big. And this bear's like twice his size. Yeah, sun bears are really weird looking. Sun bears are kind of gross, honestly. Like, I don't want to be... Like, I think they're interesting. I think sun bears are like, you know, a good example of how versatile bears as like a family are. You know, the ability to specialize for different kinds of environments. I mean, that's what's cool about bears in general, is like they're almost everywhere in the world. And, you know, for the most part, they're generalists. They're pretty good at surviving on whatever they can get. But sun bears are a little bit more niche. Really good at climbing trees. Really good at extracting insects and honey and stuff like that. And the poor bastards are being farmed for bile. That is awful. If you're interested, look it up, but it's a horrible, horrible thing. I think it's mostly in China, but maybe in some other Asian countries, they actually farm sun bears for their bile, which they believe has medicinal properties. And, you know, it doesn't. But they're kept in horrible conditions. And, I'm basically tortured for their entire existence. That's another thing I like about black bears. They always end up in situations where they're like interacting with human existence in some way or another. I love videos of black bears swimming in people's pools. You know, I maybe I wouldn't like it so much if I actually like if it was my pool that they were swimming in, but I don't know. I think I would probably be excited. Well, first of all, if I had a pool, period, that would be awesome. I would love to have a pool. But if I had a pool and I saw like a bear and her cubs swimming in it, I would be pretty excited. I would get out my video camera and my video camera, how fucking old am I? I would get out my phone and I would record the bears in the pool. I wouldn't bother them. I wouldn't like go out try to swim with them. As tempting as that may be. That was the thing that really scared me about the one bear encounter that I had. You know, the bear was pretty far away from me, and I couldn't really see it. You know, I heard it, and I saw, like, its shape in the woods. But I was wondering, because it was, like, you know, early summer. I was like, oh, shit, does it have babies with it? Because if that's a mother bear with her cubs, like, it doesn't matter what kind of bear it is. Like, she is not going to be happy to see me or my dog. I don't know if she had cubs or not. I never found out. I was holding... The other reason I was nervous is because I was holding an ear of roast corn. I was walking in between campsites. My family was camping, and I was visiting my aunt's campsite, which was, you know, like a good 15-minute walk through the woods from where I was staying. And I picked up an ear of roast corn. She was making some roast corn at her campsite, so I grabbed some, and then I was walking back, and I remember hearing it and then noticing it and then putting it together, and actually my first thought was, holy shit, is that Bigfoot? And then I was like, no, it's probably not Bigfoot. And then I thought it was like a rabbit or a deer or something, and then I saw like its mass out in the woods. It was like dusk too, so I couldn't really see, but I saw it, you know, something like a shadow in the distance, and I was like, that is not a deer. That is a very round silhouette. And I was like, that's probably a bear. And I'm holding an ear of roast corn that it can definitely smell. Birds just seem like normal-sized birds make the bear seem like a normal-sized bear. Yeah, I'm wondering if I should just get rid of them. I just wanted it to look like it was like a big peaceful giant, because this one isn't that aggressive. So I made this an eagle, a fairly large eagle, but maybe I have to, if I add some color and it still just looks like a regular sized bird. This is also a raven, but again, yeah, they don't have any distinctive markings yet that make them seem like those birds. I wonder how I can make them feel more like... Well, once they have color, maybe they'll seem more like... the actual birds that they are. But if not, I might just get rid of them. I mean, if I shrink the birds, you'll hardly see them at all. Besides, as I said before, it's not an enormous Goliath. It's only about 60 feet tall. So this eagle that has, I would say, about a 6-foot wingspan would be... Maybe it'll be a little bit smaller. But this isn't... That was part of why I included it, because I didn't want it to be like a Titanic-sized Goliath. You know, it's closer in size to like a large prehistoric animal, like a sauropod or something. I could maybe make it a little bit smaller. I think maybe once I add color to it, that'll help a little bit. So this particular Goliath lives in Germany, so there wouldn't be a harpy eagle flying around it. I actually can't remember the name of the eagle that I was specifically referencing. There's a type of very large, very, like, bald eagle-sized. I think it's called an imperial eagle. In Germany. This was kind of what I was referencing. How big are they? Yeah. Wingspan 5 feet 9 inches to 7 feet. That's kind of what I was imagining. You know, if this is 60 feet tall, then if this has, let's say, a maximum like 7-foot wingspan, and its wings aren't quite spread out here, you know, there would be about 10 of it up the length of the Goliath's body. So I think that's about accurate in scale. The only problem is like you said, like I think some people might not recognize it as a large eagle. Like I said, like if I add color and it still doesn't feel like a large eagle, I think I might just get rid of it. Maybe I'll put like deer near its feet instead. Deer are a little bit more explicit in scale. That's a tricky thing about illustration, isn't it? Because, you know, if you know, you know, but not everyone knows. And that's a struggle that I've had with illustration, where I feel like I need to be as explicit with my information as possible. You know, I when I was younger, all of my illustrations, I would have like little arrows pointing to everything in my illustration so that people knew exactly what it was. And still, like, I want, you know, I have a clear vision in my head, and I want to be as transparent about things like scale or, you know, environment as possible. So that's like why when I was illustrating this, I was like, okay, so it's the Goliath is found in Germany. So what are some large species of eagles that live in Germany? And like one of the largest I could find was the imperial eagle. But I don't know, like, you know, even though I know all that and it might be accurate and maybe someone else would be able to identify that, there's still always the inevitability that someone is just not going to understand what you're trying to convey. And I think sometimes that's okay. I think sometimes it is okay to be a little bit more ambiguous with your art. And in some cases, I think it's better to be ambiguous with your art. I think it's better to have multiple different interpretations. But in this particular case, because I'm specifically trying to convey scale, if, like you said, it looks confusing and they look like small birds, then that is contradicting the purpose of including that in the illustration at all. So, like I said, I might... Maybe I could also add deer. I don't know, it's just really dark down there. Yeah, maybe I'll put some deer around his feet, and maybe that'll help, you know, convey that size a little bit better. That's true, I could put a normal-sized bear down at its feet, too. Put a couple of different forest critters. Put a banana for scale. That's a good idea. I'll save that for when I do my gorilla. My gorilla kaiju. Because you know that's coming. I gotta do a gorilla. My favorite animals, in order: crabs, lobsters, bears, gorillas, crocodiles. Nah, that's not an order. I can't come up with an order. But those are my favorite kinds of animals. Also doggies. And birds are pretty cool. It's easier for me to name animals I don't like. I don't like hippos. Hippos are scary and gross. I don't like crickets. I hate crickets, actually. Crickets are scary and gross. I don't like... that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think those are the only animals I don't like. Oh, I don't like eyes. Those, like, nocturnal primates. I think they live in Madagascar or some part of Africa. I hate those. Slender lorises, I also don't like those. Like, weird nocturnal primates, not a big fan of. I mean, I have an appreciation for hippos. I think they're fascinating animals. I think, you know, any, like, megafauna that, like, is a remnant of the Pleistocene is inherently cool. I find them terrifying. I would never want to be near one. And And even if they don't, even if they're not trying to kill me, they're gross. I really don't like that they spray poop everywhere to mark their territory. I guess, like, the pygmy hippos are a little cuter. I don't know if they spray poop everywhere. But, like, the big African hippos, full-sized hippos, not a huge fan. I remember going to this wildlife preserve. I don't know what it was. It was. I think it was just like a state park. I believe it was Homososis Park in Florida, and they had a hippo there. It wasn't a zoo, but they had a hippo. It was like a rescue or something. I can't remember what his story was. And I remember being like, "Oh, that's interesting," and then he fucking sprayed poop everywhere. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of done with you, bro. Not really interested in sticking around. I would absolutely rather be around a bear. I would totally rather be around a bear. I'd have big snuggles with a bear. We'd play, we'd eat honey out of a jar, we'd have little adventures in the woods. I'd teach him how to read, he'd teach me how to forage for berries. Same thing with gorillas. If I hung out with a gorilla, we'd have such a good time together. We'd play Switch. I'd teach him how to play Mario Kart. Oh, and a baby gorilla. I'd love to hang out with a baby gorilla. That would be awesome. Even crocodiles. I feel like even a crocodile. I would rather sit next to a big-ass fucking crocodile. Because the thing is, if a crocodile is full, he's not going to mess with you. But regardless of when a hippo ate, there is a good chance that it might just turn around and maul you to death. There's a good chance it might chase you down and maul you to death, even if you're not near it. They just don't give good vibes, They don't give chill vibes. And, like, I'm sure someone out there has this great story about their hippo companion, and that's awesome. I think hippos are important. I think hippos are a part of a very unique ecosystem and food chain in Africa. I think in some ways hippos are kind of beautiful. Oh, you know what is another animal I hate even more than hippos? Elephant seals, for almost all the same reasons. Elephant seals just have terrible vibes. They are just mean and ugly and stinky and loud. And the sounds they make sound like fart noises. And they maul each other. They maul anything they can get close to. And again, I find them fascinating. I'm not so repulsed by them that I don't even want to look at a picture of them. In fact, I'm going to look at a picture of an elephant seal right now. Because they really are. Okay, the females are kind of cute. The females and the babies are kind of... But look at that! This is not good vibes. This is horrifying. This is so scary. So, like, pretty much for all the same reasons I don't like hippos, I don't like elephant seals. And again, it's mostly the males, because males are the worst. Just in general. This is a really funny picture. Look at that! That is so weird looking. Like Pretend that's not its nose. Pretend that's not a wrinkle on its nose. What the fuck? Terrifying. Look at that! Could you fucking imagine? I mean, the good thing about elephant seals is, like, at least you can outrun one. But imagine if, like, you tripped and then this thing just crushed you to death. Like, I hate every documentary I've ever watched that had elephant seals in them. They always talk about how the males will fight over females and then will sometimes crush and kill females trying to mate with them. That is horrible. Like, not only are they like, they will sometimes crush babies while they're fighting because they don't care about anything that's going on when the two males are fighting. But then after the fighting is over, the male will try to mate with a female, and like, the males are so much bigger than the females. You know, it varies from individual to individual, but like, this isn't even like the most dramatic difference between a male and a female. But like, they can literally crush the females while they're mating. And that is just horrible. Look at that. I mean, it's fascinating. It's crazy. And I find them interesting. But it's I don't like them. That almost makes it look cute, honestly. Almost. When they're not doing this horrible, disgusting thing, sucking on their own nose, and like, making these disgusting fart noises. Crazy animal. Oh, bird better get out of there. The ass is gonna get eaten. But those are like pretty much the only animals I don't like. And again, when I say I don't like them, I'm not mad at them. I don't think they should be dead or anything, you know? I don't want them all wiped off the face of the planet. I don't like them. Crickets, maybe. Maybe crickets can be wiped off the face of the planet. No, but then what would people's lizards eat? I like the sound of crickets. I like a cricket chirping. But some crickets don't chirp. Like camel crickets. I hate camel crickets. Camel crickets can be wiped off the earth. No, I know. They're important. They eat detritus, and they eat small bugs, and they eat dead things. They are important. I know. I know they're important. I just hate... I hated finding them in my mom's house. And in her basement. They were everywhere. My mom put down these glue traps to get rid of them. And we went down there. And there were like 50 on each glue trap. It was so gross. I would have gone. I am so against killing animals. I would have gone down there with a fucking flamethrower. I would have cooked every last one of those goddamn things. Yes, exactly, though. Like, they are fun. Like, a cricket chirping outside, nice, beautiful, lovely. Cricket chirping under your bed, get me out of here. Like, I don't mind spiders. I don't mind bees. I don't mind stink bugs. I don't even mind centipedes. But I hate crickets. In fact, I welcome spiders in my house because maybe they'll eat any crickets that get in there. We have a through the wall air conditioner in our living room, and you know, it's through the wall. It goes outside, and bugs definitely get in through there. Not too many, but they definitely do. But we have recently a spider has set up shop like right next to the air conditioner, and I'm like, yes, dude, yes, you're my bodyguard. Any bug that comes in here, take them out. I love spiders in my house. Sometimes I remove them because my wife doesn't like them so much. But if I find them, I don't tell her, and I leave them there. Well, yeah, I mean, if I was arachnophobic, I probably wouldn't let them in my house, but I'm not. I won't let them in your house. I won't let them in your house, but they're welcome in my house. Oh, ticks. I don't like ticks. I took my dog for a walk yesterday through this beautiful trail near my house. It was a lovely walk. We saw some baby turkeys. They were really cute. I love turkeys. Turkeys are one of my favorite animals. I used to love eating turkeys, but I've been a vegetarian for like 20 years. But before I was a vegetarian, I loved eating turkeys too. But I decided I loved living turkeys more than dead turkeys. Anyway, we saw some really cute baby turkeys. That was really cute. We saw their mommy. Um, and it was a nice walk. But I got home and my wife and I spent like 15 minutes pulling maybe 30 ticks off of my dog. So many ticks. I mean, this is the season, and like out on a trail like that where there's a lot of long grass and deer and stuff. Oh my god, so many damn ticks. And I get that even ticks have their role to play in nature. They provide food for a lot of different species of animals. They're even a form of population control in some respects. But I hate them. They are gross, and they are parasites, and they bite my dog, and they bite me, and they carry diseases. Really, the problem, though, with ticks is their interactions with humans. Like, humans have made ticks as a parasite so much more prolific. The fact that humans killed off so many natural predators of deer in this part of the world has made the deer population shoot up, and more deer mean more ticks, because more deer mean more food for ticks. Like, any given deer you find in Rhode Island is just going to be covered in ticks, and the deer doesn't pull ticks off of it, so they just get a free meal, free ride, and then they get to spread more and be delicious, and then make more little tick babies. And again, I understand that they're important, but they just they don't mesh well with humans. And it's really nothing but humans' fault. Like, you complain about a tick and it's like, well, guess what? That's what they do. They bite you. They bite everything. And we as humans have made it worse. But, like, I still don't like them. Yeah, I mean, you can get very sick. I mean, you can get Lyme's disease. Is it Lyme or Lyme's? I think it's just Lyme. You can get Lyme disease from a tick bite. It's bad. And again, it's not like ticks are doing anything intentionally. They don't know that they're carrying deadly diseases. But I still don't like them. Oh yeah, and it's hard to get ticks off a cat because they do not like being manhandled. Although a cat is probably better at getting ticks off of itself than a dog, maybe. I'm very grateful that my dog has short white hair, because when I was growing up I had a dog that had long black hair, and it is impossible to find ticks on a dog like that until they have like swelled up. Of course, we gave him tick medication, so a lot of the times they would just die and fall off of him anyway. But still, it was gross. Because you'd be like petting him, and then you'd be like, oh, what is that? You'd be like, oh, it's a big ass fucking tick. Oh, yeah, you gotta be careful with those flea and tick collars. I've heard of that before. We used to give my cat, when I was younger, there was a topical medicine that we gave my cat. Um, and he also had really bad reactions to that. But now, fortunately, they're mostly chewable, edible, like once a month kind of pills. Orally administered, I guess, is the medical term for it. Isn't this a great bear image? It doesn't look real. Like, this looks like if you drew this, like my reference image, like if you drew that, I feel like someone would be like, that's not right. Like, that is not correct. That is an incorrectly drawn bear. Have you ever seen, bears will sometimes, it looks like they're doing yoga. Bear stretching. And they literally, they position their paws, their back paws up so that they can cool off. Look at this. Look at how silly that looks. Look at that. That's cute too. But I'm looking for like... Okay, that's also really cute. Yeah, look at that. Look at that goofy ass fucker. I love bears, man. They're so cute. Bears are really like the epitome of, if not friend, then why friend shape. Look at that little guy. Boy, he looks pretty beat up, actually. Ugh, and that's the other thing, too. Like, living the bear life seems pretty awesome. You know, you hibernate through the worst part of the season. Then you get up. You have to look for food. That can be kind of tough. But, you know, you walk through these beautiful land. I mean, I'm talking specifically about, like, brown bears and black bears in North America. But, like, walk through these beautiful forests and mountains. And you relax in these streams. Like, look at that. I want to do that every single day. If I could do this every day of my life in these beautiful mountains with the forest behind me, just chilling in the cool dirt, like, that is an animal who has figured it out. That is an animal who knows what is up. That's what I'm talking about right there. Look at that guy. Not a care in the world. Not a care for that bear. That bear does not care. Look at this bear. He doesn't even know he's a hypercarnivore. He's eating that bush. You can't eat that bush. There's nothing even on it. Stupid ass bear. Look at this bear. He's just chilling in the snow. It's snowing, bear. Don't you want to go inside? No, I don't have to. I got nice thick fur. I don't even feel the snow. Look at that. Come on, bear. I mean, that's a little indecent. Bear doesn't care. Bear is bearing all. That is just... I can't even do that. I'm not flexible enough to do that. I'll tell you, I'd never want to be in a room with a polar bear. I would chill with a black bear. I'd chill with a brown bear. I'd chill with a sun bear or a moon bear, a spectacled bear. Not interested in chilling with a polar bear. They're cute. Like, they have good vibes. But, you know, that's an animal where I'm gonna respect their space. I mean, I'm gonna respect. I would, in all seriousness, I don't want to be in a room with a grizzly bear. I actually had a nightmare about a week ago that I got mauled by a bear. It was terrifying. I have no idea why I had that. I don't know why I had this terrifying dream of being mauled by a bear. So, like, yes, I understand that a bear can be as dangerous as a hippo. But just, you know, it's vibes based, you know? I'll tell you, actually, you know what? I'll tell you a cute hippo. In Final Fantasy XIV, there's a hippo mount. The hippo cart. That's cute. I like this. I have this mount. That's a cute hippo. That's good vibes. I like this hippo. He's giving off good energy. A big fan of this hippo. That's nice. I like that. If a polar bear handed me a bottle of Coke, yeah, no, we're gonna hang. God, this holiday season, I saw so many AI generated Coca-Cola ads. You know, they had their iconic polar bears, but they were all AI generated, and I was just like, wow, it's incredible how much this saps any charm that these characters had. Like, I feel like for the past couple of years, maybe for the past couple of decades even, like, people have kind of not loved the polar bear ads for Coca-Cola because it's like a giant corporation that is directly contributing to the environmental issues that are driving polar bears to extinction, using polar bears to sell their product. It feels a little tasteless. So for me, at least personally, for a while, I was kind of like, huh, you know, I don't know if I love these polar bears so much anymore. But then they were AI-generated polar bears, and I was like, okay, yeah, no, I definitely don't like these polar bears anymore. I am not a fan of this. I do think they're very charming. There's no doubt that the Coca-Cola polar bears are adorable. I just, you know, it's one of those things where you're like, "Aw," and then you're like, "Oh, capitalism. Ugh, I don't like that." Alright, what do we think, guys? Does this look more like an eagle now? Should I also include, like, something at the bear's feet to make it look more like, you know, it's the proper scale? It's tough because, you know, this element of the illustration is kind of small. So, like, I don't want to add too much detail. I had a dream as a kid where a woman and fat Garfield just watched me getting railed by a train on repeat for some reason. Railed by a train, huh? I always like psychoanalyzing people's dreams, but you know what? I'm gonna stay away from that one. I'll let you hold on to that one. That'll be your problem to solve. It'll be your mystery to uncover. Yeah, I'm thinking I might smack a deer in there. I think I might throw a little frickin' deer down at the bottom. Because now I made this... You're not going to believe it, but I made this raven black, and now it's really hard to see. Maybe it could be casting a shadow. Call some attention to it. like that's the right angle that shadow would be coming out of. Gotta put the banana. Yeah, I think you're right. I think what I'll do actually is I'll go back here and let me grab a deer reference. Deer is another animal. Red ear. That's pretty good. The red deer are pretty big. I'm just gonna do this on a different layer. When you work digitally, you get kind of spoiled because you can sort of do something like add this, and you can be so like irreverent about where it is on the canvas. Like, this is too big already and it's not in the right spot, but I'm just gonna shrink it. I feel like deer are one of the most fantastical animals. You know, like the most magical looking animals that people see on a fairly regular basis. You know, I think a lot of people think of deer and they just think of like hunting, or, you know, something that is being hunted by one animal or another. But they really are pretty majestic looking. I've always said that a deer is one of the coolest mounts that like a fantasy character could have. So like with the birds, I don't want to include too much detail. When you're, you know, working with different scales of your characters, you know, if you have multiple characters in a piece and one character is significantly larger than the other, the smaller character, usually you want to have less detail on. But it depends on what kind of illustrator you are. Some illustrators put a ton of detail on everything. It's also when you're working on something like Kaijune, where you have a lot of illustrations to do very quickly. Um, you know, certain things don't need as much time spent on them. I feel like I can picture now someone commenting on this when I post it and being like, I thought those birds on its shoulder were regular sized birds, and then I saw the deer and I was like, oh. It's a funny thing about being an artist who posts their work on the internet. You start to like preempt comments on your work in your head. Usually the kind of comment I see most often on my artwork is just someone like comparing the design to another design that they're familiar with. Like, this reminds me of this character. Kind of a funny looking deer, isn't it? I think his head's too big. This reminds me of Open Season. Oh my god, it's like the deer from Open Season. Patrick Warburton deer. Ian. Alright. Now I can take this deer and put it where? By this foot? Kind of creates attention. Should I separate them a little bit so it's not, so you can actually see it? Or should I put it like, no, I think I should put it on the other side because I have the birds on the right side. Yeah, I think that's good. That's that guy from Fortnite. Could literally be anyone. I always say that I'm like, I don't know what would surprise me. You know, if I found out that X character was added to Fortnite. Like, I really don't know, like, what would surprise me anymore. Now that the only thing because I'm pretty sure I've said in the past that if they added Bob's Burgers to Fortnite, that would surprise me. But then they added Bob's Burgers to Fortnite, so like I don't know what to be surprised by anymore. I think my new go-to is if they added a president of the United States. If they added Donald Trump to Fortnite, I would be surprised. If they added Obama to Fortnite, that would actually be crazy. A video game where you could shoot and kill the president. There's no way. I feel like that is maybe the one thing I can say with confidence they would never add, is a president of the United States. Unless it was a fictional president of the United States. Pomni? Is that the character from Amazing Digital Circus? That would not surprise me at all. If they added that to Fortnite, that's like the least surprising thing. Like a very popular adult cartoon character being added to Fortnite, that would be the least surprising thing. In fact, I would be more surprised if they never added Pomni to Fortnite. Pilbora in Fortnite. Yes, if they added an Enigmorph to Fortnite, I would be pretty surprised. That'd be so fucking crazy if Fortnite just stole like a fairly small YouTuber's original character for their battle pass. I feel like that would actually be like great publicity for Subjectively. Like that would make the Enigmorph so much more popular if like I made a video as like Epic Games stole my character design. Like I feel like that would blow up. That's something that Moist Critical would talk about, even though I don't like Moist Critical. But he is a bit of a tastemaker, so if he wanted to talk about the Enigmorphs on his channel, you know, I wouldn't complain. I feel like he would be thoroughly unimpressed, unless he could use the Enigmorphs as a way to bash someone else. And yeah, if he could bash Epic Games, I feel like, yeah, that would be... It's all coming together. This is our big break. Wait, they actually added Pomni to Fortnite? Yeah, yeah, that is actually not surprising even a little bit. That surprises me zero amount. Do they have Five Nights at Freddy's in Fortnite yet? Okay, seems like they don't. This is actually shocking, to be honest with you. That they don't have this in Fortnite yet. I feel like if they don't... Well, I was going to say if they don't have Five Nights at Freddy's in the game yet, they probably never will, but that's not true. They absolutely dust off some crazy niche old IPs. I'm pretty sure Rambo's in Fortnite. Am I remembering that correctly? Like, that's the craziest thing about Fortnite. They will put anything. It doesn't matter what the target demographic is. Because, like, literally Fortnite is played by children and by, you know, 60-year-olds. Yeah, honestly, Peter Griffin in Fortnite, I think that was one of the things... No, you know, actually, I'll tell you the thing where I was like, I am not surprised anymore. This was when I was like, okay, I would have never guessed in a million years before they did this. Now I'm literally like, they could put anything in Fortnite. They put Michael Scott and Dwight Schrute in Fortnite. I feel like the Dwight likeness is pretty good, but the Steve Carell is a little rough. I feel like they overworked it a little bit. Put fucking Date Mike as like an alternate skin. It's crazy, man. Crazy time to be alive. I wonder how long until people get fatigued of like just seeing characters from one thing and another thing. Because like, I feel like some people are like, this is stupid. But most people are like, nah, that's actually kind of awesome. And I might even include myself in that. Because like, I was like, this is, seeing Michael Scott in Fortnite, like, this is so ridiculous, it's actually kind of funny. But also, like, who is that for? Like, how many kids are booting up Fortnite and being like, Mommy, give me the Michael Scott skin. I love The Office. I guess it's for people my age. I guess that's really the answer. I did buy the King Kong skin in Fortnite when that came out, because that was actually so funny. Just watching King Kong run around with like a gun. That's like, I feel like 80% of the fun of Fortnite is like getting shot and then seeing the kill cam and you're like, oh my god, I got shot by Dwight Schrute. Piccolo just shot me point blank in the head. Ariana Grande just capped my ass at Twisted Towers. Chapel Roan just shot me in the head, point blank. Killed me, beat me to death with a pickaxe. Oh my god, do you think they're gonna do a Backrooms movie Fortnite event? I feel like that's possible. God, I really liked the Backrooms movie, but I'm kind of worried that it's going to make the concept of the Backrooms too popular. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to sound like a hipster. I know that term hipster makes me sound like an old guy, but like, I don't mean to be the person where it's like, ugh, I liked it before everyone liked it. I liked it before it was cool. Like, what I mean is that when something like that becomes popular, businesses use it to make money. And when businesses want to use something to make money, they put it everywhere. And when they put it everywhere, it dilutes the integrity of the original thing that people liked. And then more people see it, but they see this like diluted, half-assed like shell of what it actually is. And then that's what they associate with the thing. Do you understand what I'm getting at here? Because, like, you might love Winnie the Pooh, right? You might love the story of Christopher Robin and the 100 Acre Woods. You might love that original illustrated children's book. You might have read it to your kids. You might have had it read to you as a child. And you love so much of what went into that story. The fact that it was a story written by a father for his son, about his son, about his imagination and his ability to create stories and adventures just with his stuffed animals. And you might really sincerely love that. But 99% of the people in the world today love Winnie the Pooh. They might love Winnie the Pooh sincerely and with all their hearts, but they love, the cartoon yellow bear that they put on their mugs and their t-shirts and their bumper stickers. And that's it. That's all they really love. They know he's cute. Maybe they like, I'm short and fat and proud of that. They put that on a bumper sticker or they post that on Facebook. And, that's the extent to which they enjoy it. And again, that's fine. But it does it creates this false image of what the original story characters were intended to represent. Do you understand what I'm saying? Am I making sense? And, the Backrooms as a concept already has been, kind of overdone to the point where it's already, lost a lot of its original integrity. The original creepypasta turned into a short film, then turned into, a Roblox experience that kind of really sucks. That already existed before the movie. The Backrooms has already kind of felt like a tired concept. But I do feel like this movie did a really good job recontextualizing it in the medium of film and making it more accessible for people who don't spend as much time online. And so maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. Maybe that'll be a good thing. Maybe more interesting stories can now be told in this setting. I'm seeing McDonald's ads with the Backrooms, and it's just I kind of hate it. I hate when something becomes so popular that it becomes a product, But who knows? Maybe that's too cynical of me. Maybe something awesome will come from... I mean, like I said, the movie was great. It was a really, really good movie. The reputation of the Backrooms aside, whatever the Backrooms was before this movie aside, the movie was great. And I hope we see more liminal horror in the future in movies. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, 1 second, guys. I just need to get a file for Clara real quick. She's editing a video for me right now. And I can't believe the thing. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Yes, Evolve is a good example of that. Although Evolve never really got that popular, to be honest. That was just an example of a company abusing an interesting idea and trying to make money off of it, and then ruining it because of that. Maybe if Evolve had gotten more popular, they would have had fans that fought against the changes that they made to the game. I only played Evolve like twice. I think by the time I started playing, it was already dying. But it was a really cool game. And I'm so shocked they haven't made more asymmetrical PvP shooters in that same genre. You know, like Kaijus versus people is a really cool idea for a video game. They're bringing back Primal Carnage. I don't know if anyone remembers Primal Carnage. Years and years, like when I was in high school, there was this... I'm not sure if it was an asymmetrical shooter, but it was like each team had different options. You either played on the dinosaur team or the human teams. And the... you know, I thought it was so cool as a kid, but it fell off pretty quickly. But I just saw a trailer that they're like rebooting it. They're making a new Primal Carnage game, which is crazy to me. Okay, I mean, that makes sense that you guys... That makes sense that my fans would know about Primal Carnage. But yeah, I might be misremembering, but I'm pretty sure I saw a trailer for a new Primal Carnage game. Primal Carnage Evolution? Extinction? Is this the new one? No, this already came out. Oh, I guess there have been multiple new games. Extinction? No, that's the one I just looked at. Evolution? Primal Carnage. New game. Primal Carnage official website. Maybe this game never fell off. Maybe people still play this game. Evolution is the new one. Out now on Play... Oh, it's already out. I don't know, I might peep it. Seems kind of fun. Depending on how expensive it is. I know the original game was like $5, which is why I bought it when I was in high school. I am 2 years old. That's why I'm bald. I'm going to be 30 in just a couple of months. I know I look older than that because I'm bald and I have kind of bad skin. I'm mostly bald by choice. I'm balding. Like, the top of my head has no hair. And obviously the sides of my head does have hair. The sides of my head do have hair. But I shave the whole thing because, like, I don't know. I can't rock the bald spot, you know? I'd rather be entirely bald. Just kind of embrace it. You know, that's the thing about life. There's always going to be someone who's older than you, and there's always going to be someone who's younger than you. Maybe for like 1 second. Couple of seconds at the very beginning of your life. Maybe there's no one younger than you. But after that, there's just always going to be someone who's younger than you. And there's always going to be someone who's older than you. And older people might have more experience. Some older people have less experience. Some younger people have more experience. You can learn things from people regardless of how old they are. You can feel young being around old people. You can feel old being around young people. Personally, I don't mind getting older. It is weird when someone tells me, you know, I've been watching your YouTube channel since I was a kid. And that always, because, you know, in my mind, I'm like, wait, I've only been doing this YouTube channel since I was in college. And that doesn't feel like that long ago. But it was, I mean, I graduated college 8 years ago. Like, it's a significant amount of time. And yeah, in that time, someone could go from being a 10-year-old to an 18-year-old. Which is pretty crazy. When will you wear wigs? God, I love that video. Do you wear wigs? No, I do not. Will you wear wigs? No, I will not. When will you wear wigs? Oh no, he goes, maybe. When will you wear wigs? That's great. God, I gotta watch Lord of the Rings again. I gotta read Lord of the Rings again. I think the oldest I feel is when someone says that their first game was like Sword and Shield. They'd be like, oh, my mom bought me Sword and Shield for Christmas. I'm like, nah. That's correct. You are the youngest person ever. Someone was talking about how I was at a friend's party the other day and someone said that their cousin was having a baby. And I was like, and they were making a joke. It's like, oh, you know, I can't come to this thing next weekend. You know, my cousin's having their baby. You know, and I'm gonna go see their new baby. And they were like, oh yeah, it's so annoying. We were making jokes like that's such a pain in the ass. I was like, yeah, imagine being born in 2026. You literally missed everything. You miss everything. You don't know anything. Also, sometimes I think about how I was born in a different century. I was literally born in a different century. That's kind of weird to think about sometimes. You know, I didn't spend a lot of time in that century. I was mostly a baby in the 90s. But it is weird to think that most people I meet these days were born in the 21st century. I was born in the 20th century. I remember the last place I lived in, when I still lived in Providence, our upstairs neighbors were college students at RISD, and they were very chill. They were nice people. But it like dawned on me, like I kind of still felt like I was college aged, and you know, I would sometimes see him and I'd say hi, and you know, I kind of thought of us as contemporaries. But one day it just sort of hit me. I'm like, wait, no, I'm like the weird old adult that lives downstairs, and these people are like 10 years younger than me. Actually, I don't think they were 10 years younger than me because I think they were graduating that year. So they were only like 6 or 7 years younger than me, probably. But still, it was the first time I had to kind of confront. I was like, I'm not college aged anymore. I'm a whole ass man. That's true. Technically, you are always college age. You're always can always go back to college. My mom went back to college while I was in college. Actually, my mom got her master's in education while I was in college. While she was in her 50s. So you're always college aged. But I'll tell you, there is a big difference, between living in a college town and being in your late teens, early 20s, and living in a college town and being in your late 20s, early 30s. Because I would still get nostalgic. Like, I'd look around, I lived right near the Brown University campus. And it's such a beautiful campus, kind of near RISD too. Gorgeous, gorgeous property, beautiful school. And, just sort of reminding, I'd see these young kids walking around with their bags and, they look so tired. And, you see some kids, they meet up with their friends. You see another kid, they look so depressed. I remember during midterms and finals when we lived there, if we were walking around with Panko, we'd often get these people who would walk up to us and they looked so tired. And they'd walk up and they'd be like, "Can I pet your dog?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure." And they'd be like, "Thank you so much. I really need an emotional stimulant right now because finals are killing me." And I'm like, "Sure, Panko will be your emotional support animal." But I would be like, I would be kind of nostalgic for it. I'd be like, I miss college. Even the stressful parts of college, just a fun time in your life. It's such a different kind of, especially like I hated high school. Like high school was super hard for me, but college felt so different. Like I definitely struggled a little bit in college, but I also enjoyed myself quite a bit and I learned a lot. I met some great friends. I met my wife. She wasn't my wife at the time, but we got there. We got there eventually. We got there. Isn't that nice? I'm glad to have a dog who is friendly enough that I could be like, yeah, go ahead. When I was a kid, I had growing up, I had a very cute dog, but he was not very friendly, and he would bite people sometimes. And so people would come up to me and they'd be like, "Can I pet your dog?" And I'd be like, "I'm sorry, no, you can't pet my dog." I'd be like, "You can pet my dog if you don't mind him biting you. If you promise not to sue me." One time someone did actually call the police. I was not there for that. But one time my sisters were walking him. And I think they were walking by like a Walgreens or something. And some guy reached down to pet him without asking. And he bit him. And the guy called the cops. And my poor sisters, they told me they were like breaking down crying. They were pretty young too. They were, I think, both still in their teens. And the guy fucking called the cops. And it's just like, first of all, I should also say this dog was fairly small. He was like a dachshund mix. It's not like he was like this big Rottweiler that was biting people. Like, it hurt when he bit you. But the guy was, he was gonna be okay. He didn't need stitches or anything. But, it makes you nervous. That's the tough thing about having a dog. If your dog doesn't behave in public, it makes you as the dog owner nervous because you're like, I don't want anyone to get scared or hurt. I don't want, to be the reason why someone, becomes afraid of dogs for the rest of their life. But then when you're nervous, your dog feels that, and then your dog is even more nervous, and it's a tough cycle to break. And I think that growing up, I looking back on it, the dog that I had, we loved him. He was a good boy. Well, he wasn't a good boy, but we loved him, and he was good to us. But like, we definitely made him a much more nervous dog because we couldn't handle how nervous he made us when we were in public. And then we kind of just stopped taking him places. And if you can imagine, a dog that is already very antisocial does not get any more social if he doesn't interact with people or other dogs. Actually, surprisingly, he was good with other dogs. He was weird. He really responded well to dominance. If another dog was like very, not aggressive, but like assertive and dominant, he would submit. He would like roll over. He would not try to fight. And also like with people. Like I remember one time, he hated pretty much anyone that came over my house when I was a kid. But I remember one time my uncle accidentally stepped on his tail, and I think it hurt. But after that, Oscar was never nasty to him again. He was like very well behaved around him. It almost seemed like he liked him more. Like he would come up to him and like sit by his feet, which is how he ended up stepping on his tail in the first place, which very interesting. But yeah, I don't know. He was a strange dog. Yeah, well, I mean, we do emit different kinds of chemicals depending on our mood. I mean, humans can detect these things too. We're not as sensitive to them. But, we're able to read emotions through means other than just saying I'm sad. And dogs can do that too. I mean, body language and the way you're acting, the way you're talking, the pitch of your voice, pulling on your dog's leash, like that's another way. Like if you're stressed, you might want to pull your dog closer to you, and that absolutely stresses dogs out. Like Panko, my dog, she's very, very friendly. She has never gotten in a fight with another dog. But when she's on a leash, sometimes she growls, and it's because she's frustrated. And she's not angry with the other dog, but she gets frustrated that she's feeling restrained. And like, I always say, like, if your dog is friendly, I would rather they meet Panko off leash, because they have room. They can run around, they can give themselves distance, they can back off from one another, they can sniff each other at their own pace, they don't feel like they're being restrained. Now, if your dog isn't friendly, probably shouldn't be hanging out with other dogs anyway, or if you want to train them, don't train them with my dog, because my dog will think that they're playing with her, and she will not de-escalate the situation. And so, like, a lot of people who think their dogs are aggressive, a lot of it could just be barrier aggression, either leashes or fences. Yeah, and then a lot of dogs become very protective. A lot of dogs become very possessive. My grandma's dog is like that. When my grandpa died, my aunts, without asking her, bought my grandma a golden retriever puppy. And of course, she was adorable. She was an adorable little puppy. And my grandma didn't really want her, but she wasn't going to be like, take this puppy back. So she kept her. But my grandma is like in her late 80s, and she can't take her for walks, and she doesn't take her to the park. And so the dog grew up pretty much just with my grandma. And she loves my grandma, but she doesn't really like anyone else. And like golden retrievers, I feel like are dogs that are like the opposite of pit bulls. Like they have reputations for being very sweet. But actually, similarly to pit bulls, they usually are pretty sweet. I don't know a lot of poor, like, bad-natured golden retrievers. But golden retrievers are big. And my grandma's dog is not friendly. And she is scary. Because a big dog that's that possessive And that nervous and that unpredictable can hurt you. And she's injured, but she injured my grandma once. It wasn't intentional, but she knocked my grandma over and broke her leg. And so, like, people say, like, oh, well, if you get a dog from a breeder and it's a good breed of dog, then they'll be better. They'll be more predictable. But it's just not true. Like, any dog needs to be trained. Any dog needs to be socialized. Any dog needs to have limits. And I'm going to say it again. They need to be socialized. Like, it's so important. They're social animals. They learn, just like humans, they learn behavior from other dogs. And as a puppy, if they're not around other dogs or around other people to teach them what's okay and what's not okay, they can be really dangerous. And it doesn't matter where you get them from. It doesn't matter what breed they are. I mean, yes, some dogs have different, like, energy levels. Some dogs have different, like, impulses. Like Panko, she's a pit bull. She's a pit bull mix. She's a terrier. She's really, like, sprinting, and she really likes, like, tearing things. She's very good, though. She doesn't tear, like, shoes or pillows or anything, but her toys, she loves tearing her toys. She likes tug of war. She doesn't give a shit about fetch. If you throw her toy, she will pick it up and then she'll just chew on it. She does not want to play fetch. She does not want to return it to you. She doesn't even really want you to throw it. She wants you to play tug of war. So I think those behaviors are breed dependent. But it really depends on the dog. And you really can't say that just because you get a dog from a breeder that they're going to be well behaved. And my aunts keep saying that. They're like, we got it from a breeder. It must have been a bad breeder. And it's like, I mean, maybe it was a bad breeder, but the dog wasn't born misbehaved. The dog was taught behavior because you gave her to an old lady who couldn't socialize her properly. And I don't blame my grandma. Like, my grandma shouldn't have gotten a large dog. She probably shouldn't have gotten any dog, really. Like, it was a nice thought from my aunts, but, like, they should have at least asked her first. Some dogs do have different social batteries, though. Like, some dogs want to be around people all day, every day. Like, Panko is very social. She loves being around people. She loves being around other dogs. But there will get to, like, if a couple weeks ago, we took her to a friend's birthday party. It was outside, and there were a lot of people there. And at first, she was very excited to be around the people. But then after a couple of hours, she was like, I want to go inside. I don't want to be out in the grass anymore. I don't want, because Panko's also super spoiled, and she wants to be very comfortable all the time. So she was, like, sitting in, like, lawn chairs. And I was like, people would be like, oh, Panko's sitting down. And I'm like, I can move her. And they're like, no, let her stay. And I'm like, okay. But, her social battery kind of wore out. She was like, all right, this was fun, but now I'm getting bored. And as she gets older, too, it's funny. She'll, like, when she sees a dog, she gets really excited. She'll go over and play with them. But then, like, after they've sniffed and said hi and maybe, like, roughhoused a little bit, she kind of just, like, goes off and does something else. She's like, all right, good to meet you. I got other things to do. My sister-in-law has 2 pit bulls. Well, one's, like, a full-bred pit bull. He's still from a shelter, but he, like, is, like, big. He's like one of those big, like, typical looking with the huge heads. And then the other's like a pity mix. He's got a lot of different dogs in him. He's just kind of like dog, But Whiskey, the pit bull with the big head, he's also very friendly, very chill. But he has a crazy prey drive. Like Panko, I have on multiple occasions, I've let her get really close to, like, baby birds, like fledgling birds that are, like, hopping around. Like, this time of year, little baby birds will be, like, hopping around. In fact, hold on, let me see. There's a picture of her, like, sniffing a little baby bird, and she'll get, like, excited when she sees them, and she'll get, like, really close, but she never tries to eat them. She never tries to hurt them. But this dog Whiskey, there are multiple occasions of him, like, mauling squirrels to death. And, he, like, Panko will chase a squirrel, She's never caught a squirrel. But I imagine even if she did catch a squirrel, she wouldn't... I mean, she might accidentally hurt it, maybe? I'm trying to find this picture the other day of Panko with this little baby starling. Okay, you can barely see it. There's that, you kind of see, there's a little baby bird. And she was just kind of sniffing it. I was holding her leash back so she didn't, sometimes she like swats at them with her paw. So I was trying to make sure she doesn't get too close, that she swatted it with her paw. But there's the baby bird. Little baby starling. He wasn't like, he hadn't fallen out of his nest. I think it was a fledgling, you know, he was like learning how to fly. And I saw his mom and dad circling up above. So like he wasn't in any danger. And he hopped away after that. But it was also funny because he was not afraid of Panko at all. Like, it's funny, little baby birds or like young, like yearling birds, they will hop around in front of Panko and not care. They have no sense of fear of an animal that's bigger than them. Yeah, animals absolutely have personalities. My friend has 3 cats. They're all siblings. And they're all friendly. Like, none of them are nasty. But one of them is super friendly and will, like, come up to you when strangers come over the house. Like, she wants to hang out with people. One of them is, like, he'll show up, like, once the party has started. And, like, people are starting to, like, settle down and stuff. And he'll, like, come up and you can pet him. But then he'll go back and hide. And then the other one is, like, you'll never see him. Like, he just hides the entire time. And if he does come out, it's like a rare treat. It's like, oh, Sebastian's here. Yeah. And that's like, people will say that, like, there's like this stigma with dog breeds where it's like, this breed is friendly, this breed is aggressive, this breed is high energy, this breed's really social. But I feel like with cats, people just sort of generalize, like, the species. They're just like, yeah, cats aren't friendly. You can't train a cat. And it's like, it's true, like, evolutionarily, like, cats have very different social behaviors than an animal like a dog. But I know a lot of really friendly cats. And cats that play and behave like dogs. You know, they definitely are not just, as a species, unfriendly animals. Yeah, his name is Sebastian. Seb, they call him Sebi. What is the animal with the most aura? You know, it's gonna sound kind of lame. It's gonna sound a little vanilla. But lions have so much aura. Like, lions, you know, like, that's... I know that's sort of an NPC pick, so to speak. Lions and tigers. Maybe tigers even have more aura than a lion. But, like, look at that. That is just pure aura, man. Because, like, I don't know, like a crocodile or like a shark, like, big predators, like, they don't have the same level of, like, deliberate intent in their eyes. Like, a tiger looking at you like this, it's not just saying, I want to eat you. It's figuring out the quickest, most efficient way to kill and eat you. Like, a crocodile is like, that's food, let's go, I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat this thing. A shark, too, is like, is this food? Let me bite it. Yeah, that's food, I'll eat that. But a tiger is like, I have been hunting you for days, and I'm finally ready to kill you. And after I'm finished crunching on your bones, I'm going to kill the rest of your family. I feel like predatory cats, like large, big cats, you know, I mean, that is just aura, man. And it's like, you know, it's nothing new. Like, you can know nothing about animals and know that tigers have aura. You know, they're just crazy. Also, deer, like a big elk. Like, that's aura. That's some pretty masculine aura. Yeah, big deer, big ungulates. Bison have aura. A lot of eagles. Yeah. Yeah, bro is aura farming. That's not actually, that's not the best example of an aura farming raptor. Golden eagle? Yeah. Yeah, now we're aura farming. Big aura. Owls? Yeah, big aura. Okay, that one does not have aura. That's a goofy ass owl. Okay, that one's also kind of goofy. That's aura. Actually, great gray owls might be. Yeah, this is okay. Yeah, no, this is aura. That is big aura. Oh yeah, shoebills. I mean, this picture is just iconic now on the internet. I don't know though, because depending on the light, like a shoebill can also look ridiculous. Like this does not have a lot of aura. This kind of looks like a baseball mascot at a little league game. That's terrifying. I know he's just like blinking. That's just like one of his eyelids. Yeah, okay, we're losing our aura a little bit. That guy's handsome. When they make that sound with their beaks. Yeah, this is crazy. That's actually crazy. Anything can look silly, that's true. If I look up tiger silly, I'm gonna get AI art. Look at that guy. Okay, that is silly. That's pretty silly. Look at the big belly. That's the forbidden belly right there. See, this is the thing. Like, I know I shouldn't pet animals like this. But if presented with the opportunity, I would. I would absolutely. Black caimans. Yeah, they're pretty scary. Until they get eaten by a leopard. Like, you think a black caiman has aura, and then a fucking leopard jumps out of the water and eats them. Like, once again, I feel like maybe the big cats are aura farming. They're aura farming on them. Okay, that's not real. But just like... just imagine being that goddamn hungry. Look at that. That's crazy. Like, that's scary. That's aura. Orcas have pretty good aura. Orcas are like effortlessly menacing. Because you can't really see their eyes or their teeth that often. Like, you don't usually see an orca like baring its teeth. Like, they do kind of look cute. But it's like one of those things where it's like, I'm pretty scared of you. I remember watching this documentary recently about animal migrations, and they were talking about humpback whales and how they give birth in warm waters, like around Hawaii, and then migrate all the way back up to Alaska. And, you know, the documentary was kind of going through the paces, and, you know, they were talking about how the mother with her calf was swimming back up to Alaska. And I was like, oh no. I think I know where this is going. And then the next shot, they show orca fins cutting through the water. And I'm like, oh, God, baby whale is toast. But then and a plot twist that caught me off guard. The narrator goes, the mother whale is not concerned. She knows these orcas. And I'm like, pause. What do you mean she knows these orcas? There's a family of orcas, you know, a specific population, group of orcas, a pod of orcas that lives in that part of the off the Alaskan coast, and they just eat fish. They don't eat whales, they don't eat seals, they just eat fish. And the mother humpback whale recognized them and knew, like, these are chill orcas. These guys don't eat whales. And she just swam right past them, and they swam right past her. And I was just like, that's crazy. And I know this about cetaceans, that they have different cultures, and they have different languages. And, you know, one population of orcas over here hunts a completely different way than a population of orca over here. But it's crazy to me that a different species would recognize them and be like, those are the chill orcas. We don't have to worry about that. And like, yeah, because you hear these horror stories about orcas eating sharks just for their liver, or eating the bowhead whales just for their tongues. But like, not all of them. Not hashtag not all orcas. Some orcas you only have to be afraid of if you're a fish. That is kind of aura. Being like, hey, really the strongest aura of all time is respecting women. Respecting a new mother, that's aura. And that's what those orcas did. They were just like, let the lady through. She's got a new baby. Cetaceans are pretty awesome. Talking about animals that I like. You know what I just realized? These claws are way shorter than those claws. I gotta make these claws a little bigger. Ooh, secretary bird does have aura. I recently learned that secretary birds are in the eagle family. I thought they were like a type of crane. But they don't, you know, other than the fact that they walk on stilts, you know, they have very long stilt legs. You know, if you look at their face, they do look like raptors. You know, they look like eagles or hawks. And they are, in fact, they're the only member of their family, or their genus maybe. But they are like, they're more closely related to like osprey than they are to like a stork or an egret. And I mean, it makes sense. They're very resourceful, efficient predators. Oh yeah, I still have my deer reference. I guess I don't really need that anymore. That's like how when I'm driving, I'll have, you know, I turn on the windshield wipers and then it stops raining, and I leave the windshield wipers on and I don't notice. Like, I'm just, Claire will point it out. She'll be like, hey, you still have the windshield wipers on. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, for some reason, I just don't notice. Komodo dragons or Gila monsters have aura. I mean, Gila monsters have that, like, small but mighty thing going for them. I feel like most I love reptiles. Reptiles are awesome. But I feel like a lot of reptiles, kind of like what I was saying about crocodiles, like, they don't really give off that same kind of aura. You know, it feels like they're very... It's like how cool and tough and powerful they are is sort of incidental. You know, it's just sort of like, listen, it's not my fault I got giant teeth and crazy red eyes. You know? It's not my fault that I'm venomous and I have a blue tongue. It's just, you know, that's just sort of how it is. Like, I think those animals are beautiful, and impressive, and a Komodo dragon is definitely terrifying. But I think of Komodo dragons, and I think of, like, you know, a big ass lizard just basking in the sun. I guess, like, pictures of Komodo dragons are like where they're drooling, you know, like their venomous saliva. But it's like, I don't know, it's a little too... I guess that's pretty badass. But they also look a little doofy. You know, they have these sort of vacant eyes. They look, I don't know, they're just kind of cute looking. He's just kind of chill, you know? Like, look at him, he's just kind of chill. I guess he's giving off cool chill aura. What I love about Komodo dragons is they look like stop-motion dinosaurs from, like, a movie from, like, the 50s. You know, they have all of those really big, bumpy scales on their faces. And for the longest time, that's how paleo artists rendered dinosaurs. Like, this looks like a Charles Knight painting. Like, doesn't this look like an illustration of two dinosaurs from, like, the 1940s? Like, hold on. Like, isn't this giving the same aura? Like, isn't this the same vibes? You know? Like, that's just kind of what a Komodo dragon looks like. And it makes sense because, you know, at the time we thought that dinosaurs were, because they were reptiles, that they looked more like lizards, and they had the same scales and a lot of the same adaptations, big ear holes and stuff, and we thought they were big lizards. But, you know, like all those bumpy scales on their faces, you know, they probably referenced animals like Komodo dragons and iguanas and stuff like that. But that's just always what I think of when I look at Komodo dragons. They just look like silly, like... Not that, yeah, they look like this. They just look like that. So, I believe recent findings have proved that Komodo dragons they do in fact have bacteria in their saliva that infects wounds, but they do also have venom. I believe this is correct. Let's see. I know I said the other day that you gotta check multiple sources, but let's just start with the Komodo dragon. Komodo dragons have an iron-enriched coatings on their tooth at serrated tips. That's crazy. So that like yellowish color is iron. That's crazy. I did not know that. That's like a beaver. Beavers have iron in their teeth. So this is a highly septic bacteria that help bring down prey. Research in 2013 suggested the bacteria in the mouths of Komodo dragons are ordinary and similar to those found in other carnivores. Komodo dragons have good mouth hygiene. After they are done feeding, they will spend 10 to 15 minutes lip licking and rubbing their head in leaves to clean their mouths. Unlike people have been led to believe, they do not have chunks of rotting flesh from their meals in their teeth, cultivating bacteria. They do have a slashing bite, which normally does include a dose of their neurotoxic and anticoagulant saliva. So they do have a venom, according to Wikipedia. Let's see the source. Let's check the source on that. National Library of Medicine. Oh, this is a broad study. Interesting. Well, this is something that we can look into. This is an art stream. I'm here to draw. That is interesting, though. I would like to look into that more. It sounds like maybe the idea of them having bacteria that causes infections is maybe not true. I always like when you read articles from scientists who study like a specific type of animal, and they always get kind of like protective of them. It's like people think that Komodo dragons have terrible dental hygiene. It's not true. They brush their teeth. They love toothpaste so much. They have great breath. I would rather smell a Komodo dragon's breath than a person's breath. They updated Megalania and Path of Titans. I fucking hate Megalania and Path of Titans. That was like the troll pick. That was like the, I'm not killing you, I'm just being annoying and not leaving you alone, and you can't kill me. Also, I feel like Megalanias were like the number one culprit of infanticide in Path of Titans. They loved killing babies. God, you can't talk to me about Path of Titans. I'm gonna be tempted to play it again. I can't go back to that place. Can't go back to that time in my life. Alright, bear with me here. We're almost done, I think. Just gonna clean up the face. Usually I start with the face when I'm drawing a creature. But, this time it's like the last thing that I'm adding. I added a deer before I added any details to the face. But before I do that, I'm just going to use the bathroom real quick. I will return. I also have to fill up my water bottle. Oh, I forgot my water bottle. Holy moly, I was peeing for like 2 minutes straight. I am hydrated. Thank you, coming back in here? It's kind of hot. You want to come in here? You can come up on the bed, it's just hot. Got the AC in the other room. All right. Let's wrap this bad Larry up. Let's wrap this bad bear up. So Panko is... Where is she? Looked like she was about to get up on the bed. I think she's behind my bed right now. She was sitting in the other room with Claire because the AC is on in there. But then she followed me in here. I don't know if she thought maybe it was even cooler in here, but it is. It is not, Panko. I hate to break it to you. It is definitely hotter in here. You're not going to believe it, but the room without AC is way hotter than the room with AC. Panko, chat wants to see what you look like. Where are you? You know what? I could do it the old-fashioned way, yeah? You might not be able to hear me. Where's my dog? There she is. Yeah, you hot? You hot dog? Chill. Try to cool off a little bit. There's my little one. She is quite a good girl. She definitely is. A lot of people feel that way when they see Panko. They see her and they say, I need to give that dog a hug. She will kiss your face a lot, though. That's the only thing. She is a bit of a kisser. And her breath is pretty bad. It's not the worst. I've smelt dogs with worse breath, but it's not great. Yeah, everybody loves Panko. I mean, there's really nothing surprising about that. She's a very lovable dog, but I've just, there are a lot of people I know who are very grouchy, unfriendly people, and all of them love Panko. I got a downstairs neighbor who's kind of a grouch, and he's got this little Pomeranian. And the first couple times he saw Panko, he was like very nervous, and he didn't want Panko to come near his dog. But then one time I came outside and he was just there. He was right outside the door, so I was like, we couldn't avoid each other. And of course, Panko just said hi to the little doggy, and the little doggy said hi to her. And I just looked up, and this grouchy guy, he was just smiling. He just had this huge smile on his face. And I was just like, oh, see? Panko's alright. She's not scary. The thing about Panko, though, that is a little confusing to both people and dogs, and I don't blame them, is that when she sees another dog, she does this. She, like, gets really low to the ground and starts walking really slowly, like she's stalking them. And then she sprints at them. And then she'll stop as soon as she gets close to them, and then just start sniffing them like a normal dog. But that freaks out a lot of dogs, understandably. And I don't know why she does that. That's how she greets dogs all the time. And I really don't know why she does that. She doesn't do that for anything else. Like, she doesn't stalk, like, birds or mammals, like little squirrels and stuff, like if she sees a squirrel, she'll run after it, but she doesn't do this like crouched stalking thing. I don't know why she does that with dogs. And like, again, like it's not an aggressive thing. Like once she gets to the, like just today we were at the park and there was this dog off leash, and you know, I told the person, I was like, Panko's friendly if he wants to say hi. And the dog was like standing there, like wagging his tail, maybe like 10 or 20 feet away from Panko. And Panko started doing this. And the dog like immediately stopped wagging his tail. And I was like, yeah, that's weird, Panko. Like, why don't you just walk up to the dog? Or even like run up to the dog with your tail wagging. Like, I don't know why she does that. Yeah, I don't know. She just has bad social skills. Like, she's friendly. She can't really read vibes very well. She's a curious little dog. All right. I think I'm gonna call this pretty much done. Yeah. I'm glad I included the deer. I think that helps clarify the scale a little bit more. I think the eagle looks like an eagle, but if you don't really know, like, if you don't know a lot about birds, it might just kind of look like a smaller bird. But I think having the deer, it's subtle. You don't notice it at first. But I think having the deer helps. And this came out pretty good. I'm happy with the light source. This year I've really been trying to work with more dramatic light sources. I don't usually do that. And I kind of struggle with more dramatic light sources. But I feel like this one came out pretty good. So I'm happy with that. And so I think I'm going to wrap up the stream there. I'm going to make myself some lunch. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this stream, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss another one. Also, join our Discord. The link is in the description of this video. I have stream notifications as a role that you can select on the Discord. And every time I stream, I ping the stream notifications. So if you are around, that way you can be notified when I'm going live. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Happy Kaijune, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!